Most people don't notice the exact moment they begin living a double life, the life they intended to have, and the life they ended up trapped inside. It doesn't start with drama. It starts quietly. A bill that's a little higher than usual, a paycheck that doesn't stretch the way it used to, a subtle tightening in the chest when you open your banking app. You think, it's fine, I'll pick up an extra shift. Just one. Just for this month. But the month turns into two. Two turns into six. And by the time you realize you're surviving instead of living, you're already knee-deep in the side hustle economy, juggling shifts like plates you can't afford to drop. It's not a decision you consciously make. It's a slow conversion of your life into labor. And it always begins with good intentions. You're trying to be responsible. You're trying to stay afloat. You're trying to catch up. What you don't see, what nobody warns you about, is that the moment you step into hustle mode, the system closes around you like a net. You don't feel it at first. You tell yourself you're just supplementing your income. You're just being smart. But then the creep happens, the slow, invisible creep where your main job stops being enough, not because you've changed, but because the economy around you quietly shifted the rules. One day, you wake up and realize you're not working extra for luxuries. You're working extra just to afford the basics you once took for granted. And the strangest part? You blame yourself. Picture this. You're sitting in your car after your primary shift. The sun has already set. Your muscles ache. You can feel the exhaustion not just in your body, but in your thoughts. The heavy fog where motivation used to be. Your phone buzzes. High demand in your area. Earn an extra $12. Another buzz. You're close to your weekly goal. Keep going. It's tempting. It's always tempting. Not because you want to work, but because the alternative is fear. Fear of the bill due tomorrow. Fear of the rent that jumped again this year. Fear of your savings shrinking, your debt creeping, your margin disappearing. Fear is what drives the modern worker, not ambition. You tell yourself it's just one more hour. But one more hour becomes 3. 3 hours become a routine. A routine becomes a second job. And once you accept the idea of a second job, a third one doesn't feel so insane. Suddenly you're delivering at night, freelancing on weekends, picking up tasks between tasks. You look at yourself in the mirror one morning. Eyes dull, shoulders tense, skin a little older than you remember. And you wonder when you stopped having days off. You can't remember the last morning you woke up without an alarm, or the last night you didn't fall asleep worrying about tomorrow. This is not laziness. This is not mismanagement. This is systemic extraction. The side hustle economy didn't rise because people wanted more freedom. It rose because corporations stopped paying enough for people to live. Wages stagnated. Prices ballooned. Companies discovered that if they offered flexibility instead of raises, people would swallow the insult and keep working. And then they discovered something even more profitable. If they framed overwork as empowerment, people wouldn't just accept it, they would internalize it as virtue. Rise and grind. Sleep when you're dead. Hustle harder. Slogans fed to a population drowning in bills. Now imagine someone named Erica, 34, single mom, working full-time at a dental office. She used to have evenings. She used to help her son with homework, cook dinner, sit on the couch and breathe. But then her rent jumped $280. Gas climbed, groceries became a guessing game. Her son needed new clothes, she needed new glasses, and her job didn't move at all. So she picks up a delivery gig, then a weekend cleaning job. She starts doing online micro-tasks at night. Her days dissolve into a blur of movement, home to job, job to gig, gig to home to collapsing in bed. Her son asks if they can go to the park. She says yes, but after her Saturday shift. Saturday comes, she's too tired. She promises next week. But next week, she works a double. And the week after, she's almost caught up, so she can't slow down yet. She's not chasing wealth. She's chasing stability. And stability keeps running. This is the new American script. A script written not by workers, but by corporations that realized exhausted people don't negotiate. They don't push back. They don't ask for raises. They don't unionize. They don't challenge the status quo. They're too damn tired to do anything but work. The entire system depends on your fatigue. Gig apps know exactly how to manipulate it. They use the same behavioral psychology as casinos. They show your earnings in bright colors to trigger dopamine. They hide your real hourly rate behind tips and bonuses. They emphasize your total income while ignoring the expenses stealing half of it. And they make the work unpredictable on purpose, because unpredictability keeps you checking. Checking keeps you logging in. Logging in keeps you working. Hope becomes currency. Exhaustion becomes normal. Survival becomes success. And slowly, quietly, people begin to internalize a lie so poisonous, it becomes invisible. If I'm struggling, I must not be working hard enough. But you are working hard enough. The problem is that the rules changed, and no one told you. But the cruelest part of all this is how normal it has become. A generation ago, if someone said they were working 2 or 3 jobs, people reacted with shock, concern. Someone would say, "That's not sustainable." Today, if you say you're working multiple jobs, people nod like it's reasonable. They tell you you're a hustler. They tell you they admire your work ethic. They call it ambition when it's actually exhaustion wearing a mask. The culture shifted to protect the system, not the worker. And the system learned to weaponize language. You're not overworked, you're entrepreneurial. You're not underpaid, you're building streams of income. You're not being exploited, you're taking control of your future. When corporations replace raises with motivational quotes, you know something has gone terribly wrong. Look around. Nearly 60% of Americans now work some form of side hustle. Not for extra vacations, not for fun money, for survival. The math gives them no choice. $60,000 today buys what $40,000 bought 20 years ago. Meanwhile, housing costs doubled, childcare doubled, healthcare tripled, college quadrupled. And wages? They barely moved. So where do people make up the difference? Not from raises, those long disappeared. Not from stable career ladders. Most industries removed those too. They make it up from themselves. Their time, their energy, their sleep, their weekends, their lives. Because when society can't offer financial upward mobility, it quietly replaces it with input mobility. Work more hours, work more jobs, work more days. You can't climb the income ladder anymore, so they hand you a treadmill and say, "Run." And people run. They run until they can't. Now imagine a man named David, 49, works full-time in warehouse logistics. He used to lift weights on weekends. He used to have hobbies. He used to barbecue with his neighbors. Now he drives for rideshare 4 nights a week and does handyman jobs on Sunday mornings. His body aches constantly. He takes ibuprofen like vitamins. He sleeps in fragmented pieces, 3 hours here, 2 hours there. One evening he finishes a shift, sits in his car, and his hands are shaking. Not from fear, from sheer physical depletion. He scrolls through his phone and sees a notification. Surge pricing. Earn more now. He knows he should go home. He knows he should sleep. But his electric bill is due in 2 days and he's short. So he taps accept ride. He tells himself it's only temporary. But he's been saying temporary for 7 years. The scam isn't that people are hustling. The scam is that hustling has become the new baseline. Companies learned they could extract far more from workers by shifting risk downward. No benefits, no health care, no retirement, no stability. Labeled as independent contractors. Not to empower them, but to avoid paying them properly. And the lie gets reinforced everywhere. Social media glorifies grind culture. Motivational influencers shame rest. Corporate ads tell workers to be their own boss, while designing algorithms that control every aspect of pay and opportunity. Freedom, rebranded as labor. And while individuals hustle themselves into exhaustion, the system profits from their desperation. Productivity rises. Corporate earnings rise. CEO compensation explodes. But workers? They get the scraps and the blame. This is why the side hustle scam works so well. It convinces people that their suffering is a personal failure, not a structural feature. You start thinking things like, I just need to organize my time better. If I grind for one more year, things will stabilize. Everyone else seems to manage. What's wrong with me? But the truth is, nothing is wrong with you. This system was built to consume you. The moment wages stopped keeping up with costs, hustle culture became the solution. But a solution that requires the worker to sacrifice their life while the employer sacrifices nothing, that's not a solution. That's a transfer of burden. And the system counts on the fact that you will never have enough time or energy to stop and question why. When you're working 14-hour days, you don't have the mental bandwidth to analyze the economy. When you're juggling shifts, you don't have energy to negotiate better pay. When you're exhausted, you don't protest, you endure. Now imagine this. It's 11:47 p.m. You're sitting in your parked car outside your home. You should go inside. You should rest. But your app shows you that if you do one more delivery, you'll hit your goal for the week. A goal the app created. A goal that has nothing to do with your real needs. You tell yourself, I'll do just one. But one becomes two. And when you finally walk through your front door, your kids are already asleep. The house is silent. You missed dinner. You missed bedtime. You missed another day you'll never get back. And the app? It sends you a cheery message. Amazing. You're on track to earn more next week. This is the scam. The constant carrot. The endless almost. The idea that if you just push a little harder, you'll finally catch up, even though the system keeps moving the finish line. Your financial stability has been turned into a subscription service you pay for with your life. People don't burn out because they're fragile. They burn out because they're being asked to carry loads no human was designed to carry without support. And every time someone collapses from exhaustion, the system doesn't slow down. It simply replaces them with another desperate worker trying to survive. You are not failing. You are being drained. But here's the part almost no one talks about. The hidden cost beneath all the financial strain, beneath the long hours, beneath the exhaustion. When you live in constant hustle mode, your brain slowly forgets what safety feels like. Your nervous system becomes wired for survival. You stop planning long term. You stop dreaming. You stop imagining a future that's better than today. Because you're too busy trying to survive the next 48 hours. That is the real theft. Not just your time, not just your money, but your sense of possibility. The system knows this. It benefits from this. Because a worker without hope is a worker who won't rebel, won't push back, won't demand better, won't take the risk to leave a job that is burning them alive. They'll cling to the scraps because the scraps feel safer than nothing. And here's something even darker. Hustling becomes your identity. You start introducing yourself in terms of labor. I do this, and this, and this. You forget who you were before you turned your life into a patchwork of shifts and gig apps. You forget what you enjoy. You forget what rest feels like. You forget what free time even is. Modern hustle culture has taught people to treat exhaustion as a personality type, as a badge of honor, as proof of worth. But exhaustion is not a badge. It's a warning. If you've ever felt guilty for resting, guilty for taking a break, guilty for logging off for a night, that guilt was programmed into you. It didn't come from your soul. It came from an economy that only values you when you're producing something. Think about the last time you took a day off, not because you were sick, not because you collapsed, not because you had no choice, but because you simply needed rest. For most people, that day doesn't exist. Rest happens only when the body forces it, when the mind breaks, when there is no other option. And the economy loves that. Because workers who only rest when they collapse never have enough energy to fight for something better. Here's where the lie becomes fully visible. The idea that the side hustle will one day save you. That if you grind hard enough, long enough, consistently enough, you'll hit a breakthrough. But the math disagrees. Most side hustles plateau. Most gig work has a ceiling, a hard one. You can't scale hours. You can't scale your body. You can't scale exhaustion. And algorithms are specifically designed to keep you just satisfied enough to stay, but never secure enough to stop. If you've ever had a week where you earned more than usual, a good week, you probably noticed the next week was worse. That wasn't fate. That wasn't coincidence. That was load balancing, apps reducing pay or availability so you don't become comfortable. Comfort makes workers less obedient. Instability keeps them coming back. Now imagine someone named Elena. She's 29, works remote customer service full-time. On the side, she edits videos for clients and walks dogs early in the morning. She's skilled. She's disciplined. She's trying harder than anyone should ever have to. But every month, she barely breaks even. One night she's lying awake, staring at the ceiling, unable to sleep because she's replaying her schedule for tomorrow. The early morning dog walk, the meeting at her main job, the freelance deadline, the grocery run, the emails she forgot to answer, the laundry piling up, tasks stacked on tasks, a life so overloaded that she doesn't even have space to feel anything about it anymore. She's not lazy. She's not mismanaging her time. She's drowning in a structure that demands too much and gives too little back. And here's the tragedy. She thinks everyone else is handling it better than she is. Because everyone is too ashamed to admit the truth. Everyone is pretending they're fine. Everyone is silently crumbling. The silence protects the scam. So let's break the silence for a moment. With one question. Why does an economy as wealthy as America's depend on people working themselves into the ground? The answer is uncomfortable, but simple. Because exhaustion is profitable. The more tired people are, the more they rely on convenience services. The more stressed they are, the more they overspend. The more overwhelmed they are, the less likely they are to negotiate salaries. The more desperate they are, the more likely they are to accept lower wages. The more scattered they are, the more subscriptions they forget to cancel. The more exhausted they are, the more they outsource everything. Groceries, meals, cleaning, transportation, often paying for the very services they work in. The hustle economy feeds the burnout economy. The burnout economy feeds the subscription economy. And all three extract money from the same exhausted worker. It is a cycle, not of opportunity, but of depletion. But here's the turning point. The moment people finally crack the illusion. It usually happens on a day when they are simply too tired to keep lying to themselves. Maybe it's when they calculate how much they actually earned after expenses. Maybe it's when they see how much time they lost compared to how little money they gained. Maybe it's when they realize they haven't had a slow morning in years. Maybe it's when they catch their reflection and see a version of themselves they barely recognize. Older, drained, emptied out. And something in them whispers, "This can't be it. This can't be the rest of my life." That whisper is not weakness. It's awakening. Because once you see the scam, once you see the structure, once you see the way your exhaustion is being harvested like a resource, you stop blaming yourself for struggling in a system engineered for struggle. You stop carrying shame that never belonged to you. You stop apologizing for being tired. You stop believing the lie that if you just work harder, everything will magically get better. Hard work is not the missing ingredient. The economy is. So what actually helps people break out of the trap? Not chasing more hustles, not squeezing more minutes out of an already overstuffed day, not burning themselves down to earn a few extra dollars. What helps is clarity. Real clarity. The kind that feels uncomfortable at first. Clarity about how many hours you're actually working. Clarity about how much you're actually earning per hour after deductions. Clarity about what part of your life feels like survival instead of living. Clarity about which hustles drain you and which ones might actually grow. Clarity about the fact that your exhaustion is not a personal flaw. Once people track their real hours, real energy cost, and real income, they finally see the truth. They're not failing. They're being stretched beyond human limits. And that clarity creates power. Power to say no. Power to cut the hustles that only drain. Power to redesign the week around energy instead of endless output. Power to focus on one skill or job that has room to grow instead of scattering themselves across three that don't. Power to rest without guilt, because rest becomes a strategy, not a luxury. Breaking this trap doesn't happen because someone tries harder. It happens because they finally understand the rules of the game and see that the game was never designed for them to win. And now that you've seen the mechanism yourself, the illusion starts losing control. So tell me in the comments, how many jobs are you working right now? 1, 2, or 3? Your answer might be the thing someone else hearing this desperately needs, because they've been thinking they're the only one struggling in a system that was built on struggle. And in the next video, we're going deeper into the real reason the middle class keeps shrinking, and why the people in power benefit every time ordinary people get a little more tired.